This is a nightmare. If you thought this Blue Jays team was bad, well, it could get a whole lot worse if this is actually true. And Blue Jay fans, they've been on the wrong side of a lot of these decisions lately. So we'll break this down and much more on this episode of Jays Digest. Welcome in everybody to Jays Digest. I'm your host Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. And before we get into the video, just excuse my voice. I'm a little bit under the weather for today. But make sure to hit that subscribe button because we're just a few away from 15,000, and it would mean the world to us if we can get there by, let's say, the end of the week. The end of the week. I think that's a reasonable goal. But thank you guys for what was a wonderful 2024, and let's keep it going this year. But Nick, we got some news coming out of the Toronto Blue Jays camp, and it's not good news. It's actually nightmare fuel. It's actually the worst case scenario because we all saw the writing on the wall. We all thought that this would be a possibility, but we weren't sure if the Blue Jays would let it happen. Well, lo and behold, according to sources around Major League Baseball, they could very well let it happen, and we may be in the abyss for years to come as Blue Jays fans.
Yeah, some a very bad report, I will say, and Jays fans are fired up about it. Let's dive right into it. It's from Bob Nightingale, and there's two different parts of this. There's the Bichette part and there's the Vladdy part, but I have all of it for you here in this screenshot. It says Bichette is as good as gone with no real interest in returning, his friends say, and we'll get into that a little bit after. But Peter, you can see here, Guerrero and the Jays are at the moment at least $100 million apart, with Guerrero seeking at least $450 million in free agency. If Guerrero doesn't receive an extension by spring training, he'll test free agency and will likely be wearing a Red Sox uniform in 2026. If Guerrero doesn't return to the Blue Jays, he would love to be with the Red Sox, friends say, which may be why the Red Sox are hesitant in their pursuit of Alex Bregman to, of course, free up space in their budget to acquire him in free agency next year. So, Peter, it's nightmare fuel for the Toronto Blue Jays here, and obviously we'll get into the Bo Bichette part in a little bit, but the Jays and Guerrero are $100 million apart. Guerrero wants $450 million, which I think is it's a bit crazy, but I'm hoping the Jays will just go up and get that because I think it's worth the extra money just for the Red Sox not to get him here. But talking about a disaster, $100 million apart, seeking $450 million. And I'll dive into how it could be a leverage play and things like that. But Red Sox Twitter is very excited about this, the thought of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And again, if he doesn't receive an extension, so we have a little bit of time, if they don't receive an extension by then, he's likely to be a Red Sox in 2026.
Yeah, well, let me say this to temper the expectations of the Boston fans as well. What have you guys done recently to warrant being in this conversation? To be the team that will pry away a high-priced free agent from another team? Let me remind them that they traded away Mookie Betts for Alex Verdugo and whatever the package was because they didn't want to pay him. They didn't think Mookie Betts was worthy of a 300 and something million-dollar contract. Well, I'll tell you what, he's one of the best players in Major League Baseball. You could even make the case that he's better than Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Maybe not at this stage of his career, but he definitely was at the time when he signed that deal. So you let Mookie Betts get traded away because you didn't want to pay him, and I'm supposed to sit here and believe that you're going to pay 450 or even $500 million for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. That's a load of BS, in my opinion. So I want to know who these friends are in this article because who's he referring to? Friends say. Friends say. What does that mean? Am I Bob Nightingale's friend? And I'm just saying things to him, like giving my prediction, and he's putting pen to paper. Doesn't really make much sense to me. So yes, this is a nightmare if Vladdy hits free agency. But I'm not scared of the Red Sox, nor should you guys be, because they don't spend any money. They don't spend money. They were in on Corbin Burns. What happened there? They were in on a
Soto.
ton of other free agents. They were in on Soto. What happened there? They were out of the sweepstakes once it actually got serious there towards the end. So that's the way that they operate. And I'm not worried in the slightest if the Red Sox want to try to wow Vladdy with an offer that would probably be less than what the Blue Jays are offering. Okay, they traded for Garrett Crochet. Wow. I'm moved. I'm moved. He's a great player, but they haven't had to pay him yet. We'll see what happens when they do.
I'm a little bit more nervous only because they did offer Soto 600 million, but And Burns as well. I think they offered him 200-ish million. Yeah, they
Yeah,
have been
but they
finishing
were
last, so
150 million off, Nick,
that is
on
true. That is
Soto.
true, and I
Yeah.
don't know if they'd allocate the 600 million to Vladdy, but again, you can see this here. The Vlad comments in the Nightingale article and his friends are purely for leverage, just as his interview. He isn't stupid. He wants the stuff getting out to the public, and Vladdy has made it clear he wants to be a Toronto Blue Jay. So I do think ultimately, at the end of the day, this is a leverage play by either Vladdy's camp or the Red Sox or someone's camp here. I don't think it's actually going to happen. I would agree with you on that, and the Red Sox scare me because he has friends, Rafael Devers, all those different things, but he wants to be a Blue Jay at the end of the day. So it's scary if they're $100 million apart, but I think it's worth that $100 million gap just to have him not join an AL East team if you're the Toronto Blue Jays. Like, obviously, it's expensive, but just pay the extra $100 million, and obviously it's going to be over several years, 10 plus, just so the Red Sox or whatever team they go out doesn't get him, especially if it's an AL East team. Because, I mean, him going to an AL East rival is, worst case scenario for the Toronto Blue Jays here. But Peter, I also want to get your thoughts on the top part here, which not many people are talking about as much. We kind of knew this, but it's confirmed now. Basically, Bichette is as good as gone with no real interest in returning. Those different friends, I guess, say regarding Bo Bichette here. We haven't really spoken about this too much. We kind of have figured this was the case, but this is also not ideal. I mean, you have two of their core players now preparing to. I think Vladdy's more likely to be extended, obviously, than Bo. We expected that, but is as good as gone is an interesting way to put that.
Yeah, and just one more quick thing here on Vladdy. I I think it's worth the extra 100 million. I think it's worth even going over budget by 50 million in the pursuit of him because he's 26 years old. I feel like this is a contract that will age very well. Maybe you'll have some bad years there towards the end. Maybe you could defer some money. You could get creative with the way that you structure this contract. But he's 26 and he's got a lot of years left ahead of him. And I don't see any signs of slowing down. Maybe I see some uh, up and down seasons every now and then, like we have with Vladdy, but for the most part, it's going to be elite and it's going to be some of the best offensive play in baseball. So I I don't think this should even be an issue. Paying the guy what he's worth, or paying him even more than he's worth, just to make sure that no one else gets him. Because I'm not worried about the Red Sox. I'm worried about the other teams that are going to come in free agency. Every team's going to have a crack at him, not just Boston, and that's where it gets dicey. But as for the Bo Bichette thing, Nick, the writing has been on the wall for quite some time now. After that interview that he had in San Francisco last year, where he said, "Oh, this would seem like a place I'd like to play," where he said things of that nature. Um, Look, he's playing his cards. He's trying to get the most out of this situation as well. Obviously, the focus is on Vladdy, and everyone is talking about Vladdy. But Bo wants to remind people that he is an all-star level player himself as well, and he needs some attention in this whole fiasco that's been going on, which was the Blue Jays offseason. So I think he's gone. I do. I find it hard to believe that if they keep Vladdy, they're going to keep Bo. I can't see them spending $500 million on Vladdy and then turning around and giving 250 or 300 to Bo. It's just not realistic in my opinion. Um, and that's why they got Andres Jimenez at the end of the day. I think that's their shortstop of the future. Now the next question is, Nick, do they
Trade.
trade
Yeah.
Bo Bichette? What do they do with him? And what are the next steps in that regard?
Yeah, if he's not, I think a lot of this depends on. I don't think they're going to trade him this offseason. I think they're going to try to win. And then the trade deadline's a big question surrounding Bo. If they know he's going to be gone, maybe try to salvage some assets. But if the team is playing well, then the tune of that can change. So let us know down below what your thoughts are. Moves are going to happen. Reports are saying Santander is going to decide this week. So we're going to keep you up to date on that front. And things are getting crazy surrounding the Jays. So make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you guys for watching.